I mean, anytime New Zealand touched the ball, they were like, go get him, score, it's scored.
I intentionally scheduled a work meeting so I wouldn't have to watch it. That's how disconnected I feel, to be honest.
In the last 47 years, we Iranians have had very little to celebrate internationally.
We didn't like the regime. We didn't like, we were, all of the things that we feel politically were there, but the support for Team Melli at that point, at least, maybe naively so in 2018, didn't feel complicated. Today, it's very complicated.
Honestly, I never saw fans more passionate than Iranians.
One of the beautiful things about being Iranian is all of the paradoxes that we have to live with.
We can have fun, we can have joy, and we can also be against the regime at the same time. And I think that our biggest challenge, frankly, is trying to explain the complexity to everyone that's not Iranian.
Hi there. So last night there were two games within one at the FIFA World Cup. There was the game played on a football pitch in Los Angeles, and the other was played with cameras. The flags were there. The cameras looked away. One game was easy enough to follow. Iran, New Zealand, goals, missed chances, a 2-2 draw, 90 minutes and a whistle. The second game was a little harder to see, but conspicuous for many of us watching around the world. You see, we know thousands of Iranians attended the match. Many carried or wore lion and sun flags. Social media was full of them. Photos from outside the stadium were full of them. People in the stands saw them with their own eyes all over the stadium in LA. And yet, if you watched the television broadcast, you could have been forgiven for thinking they barely existed. Zero. The flags were there. The cameras looked away. Now, as someone who spent a decent portion of his life working in television, I can tell you that this doesn't happen by accident or coincidence. Not at this scale, not at a World Cup. A camera is assigned, a shot is chosen, a director makes a decision, a producer makes a decision, an editor makes a decision. And if a stadium contains thousands of people and countless camera angles over the course of 90 minutes, yet one particular symbol somehow never seems to find its way onto screens around the world, that is a production choice, which is what makes this so fascinating and unsettling and infuriating. Because, let's be real, FIFA has spent years insisting that football should be kept separate from politics. And yet somehow, when it comes to the Islamic Republic, politics always seems welcome. The regime does not want the lion and sun associated with Iran. The regime does not want those images traveling around the world. And whether by design, pressure, payoffs, accommodation, or simple compliance, FIFA appears all too willing to help carry that narrative. That's what makes this more than a television story. When one of the most powerful sporting organizations on earth helps determine which version of Iran gets shown to billions of people, it's peddling a narrative. The flags were there, the cameras looked away. Iranians may have thought they were watching Sedo Sima again. Now, maybe that sounds like a small thing, but we know the most powerful form of censorship is not always removing something from the picture. Sometimes it is deciding what gets to be in the picture in the first place. The story was there. The cameras looked away. And ultimately, a camera is not only a window. You might say a camera is a choice. Every shot says, look here. Every shot also says, don't look there. For 47 years, Iranians have lived with competing versions of their country. One version presented to the world, another version lived by the people themselves. Who gets represented? Who gets erased? Fast forward to last night, the people were there, the flags were there, the cameras were there, and somehow much of the world was shown something else. So while we continue arguing about Team Melli and football and patriotism and protest and all the conflicting emotions that come with this World Cup, maybe there is another question worth asking. What didn't we see? Because last night there were two games, and when it came to one of them, the cameras looked away. It's June 16, 2026. This is Roqe. Hi there. Welcome to episode 446 of Roqe Iran Rises. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. Hello to you from Toronto. Salam Dostan Aziz. Durud Pashama. Hope you're doing okay wherever you are tuning in from around the world. This is the 42nd episode in our Iran Rises series. This one entitled After the First Match. Last night was the first match that the Islamic Republic of Iran played at the World Cup 2026. We're going to be talking about that today. We should note that we're recording this episode at approximately 1:30 p.m. Eastern time here in Toronto on this Tuesday, June 16th. That's around evening time in Iran. And as always, we're sharing perspectives and conversations as up-to-date as humanly possible. We try to keep it up-to-date, even though we're taping a couple of hours before we post. Now, just before we get going, if you appreciate our programming, our independent programming, or you want to support us in any way, you can do so on YouTube. If you like what we do, alternative independent media, just hit the super thanks button on YouTube and you can contribute to keeping Roqe alive and thriving. It means a lot to us. If you're listening to us on one of our podcast platforms, you can go to YouTube, press the super thanks, and whatever amount is appreciated, we appreciate you. Also, a couple of announcements. First, tickets are now officially back on sale for Roqe Live 6. You can find them on our Instagram page in the bio, a link to tickets for Roqe Live 6. After having to postpone the event earlier this year because of the situation in Iran, we're thrilled to announce that Roqe Live returns Saturday, July 18th. It's a Saturday this time, July 18th at the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts, just north of Toronto. This edition of Roqe Live includes legendary singer and Roqe Media Icon Award recipient Shahram Shapare, Tina Parsa, Shali Zomarodi, Captain Christopher Benham, Dariush Ozar, Pega Ganji, and yours truly as host. We'd love to see you there. Tickets are available now. Some of the good ones are gone. Get them right away at our, the link is from our Instagram page. Again, the bio at Roqe Media Instagram page will take you to the Richmond Hill Center for the Performing Arts tickets. Secondly, with the FIFA World Cup kicking off this past week, we are excited to announce that we've launched the Roqe Football House for the next 5 weeks. We'll be gathering football fans from across our community to watch matches together, share some food and drink, maybe shisha, enjoy some special guests and events, celebrate the world's game. The Roqe Football House is based at the Cavalli Lounge in Richmond Hill. Admission is free, though reservations are definitely needed. We were packed last night. Full details can be found on our social media platforms. You can find more as well on our Instagram page and at the Roqe Football House Instagram page. Now, coming up on this 446th episode of Roqe, the World Cup again is underway. And Team Melli has finally taken the pitch yesterday. But now that the first match is behind us, how are Iranians actually feeling? For some, supporting the team remains an expression of love for country, for people, for football, separate from politics. For other people, cheering for Team Melli under the Islamic Republic is simply impossible. Don't go there. So, after a dramatic 2-2 draw with New Zealand in Los Angeles, what did we learn? What was the atmosphere like inside the stadium? Why were Lion and Sun flags seemingly everywhere in person, yet almost nowhere on television? And has the first match changed anything about the way Iranians view this team, this tournament, and this moment? Joining me, quite a panel. Atbin Arian, Seena Ghaznavi, and Mehrdad Ahmadpour for a conversation about football, politics, identity, exile, and the conflicting emotions of being Iranian at this World Cup. Let's get to it. Let me tell you about Avoca Chocolates. This episode of Roqe is brought to you with the generous support of Avoca Chocolates. And they have a brand new location in Toronto. We are always so thrilled that this small non-Iranian company in Toronto has stepped up to support Iranians in this time. Noni Fambi and her staff at Avoca have been making handmade artisanal chocolate in Toronto for over 30 years. It's the best, family owned and operated. They have dedicated themselves to the art of making delicious treats, including truffles and ice cream and gelato. Made without compromise, Avoca has focused on high quality ingredients with fair trade chocolate, all made fresh daily in one of their 2 locations in East Toronto. They, this week, have just opened a new spot at 689 Broadview Avenue. That's in Riverdale in Toronto. If you know Toronto, if you're anywhere near the area, it's the downtown East 689 Broadview Avenue, the brand new Avoca store. Congratulations to them. If you're in the Toronto area, go visit one of their great chocolate shops and thank them for their support for Roqe and taste those delicious handmade chocolates. If you can't go in person, you can get their chocolates and products online at avocachocolates.com. avocachocolates.com. Thank you again, Avoca. All right, let's get to our panel. Atbin Arian is a British, Swedish, Iranian medical scientist by training who spent the longest stint of his career at Goldman Sachs in London and has co-founded a venture capital business. He is a storyteller and writes for The Spectator on Iranian history and culture and Middle Eastern geopolitics. A big football fan, having watched Team Melli in 3 World Cups now, Germany, Brazil, and Qatar. I guess that makes it 4 because he was attending the game last night in Los Angeles between Iran and New Zealand. He joins us from Los Angeles today. Seena Ghaznavi is an Iranian-American radio host, podcaster, comedian, and the executive producer of the Zero Cool creative agency. He is the host of Fraudsters and the Foreign Report on the Last Podcast Network, distributed by SiriusXM, and he's a frequent co-host on the Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM. Seena was also at the game last night in Los Angeles, and he joins us from LA as well. And Mehrdad Ahmadpour is an engineer, football historian, documentary maker, and lifelong student of the beautiful game. He was born in Rasht. He has contributed to a number of Persian language football media platforms, including Footballcast, and currently works with Students of the Game, a website focused on European football. He's also producing a documentary series on the history of the FIFA World Cup entitled A Dream of Jules Rimet. And in addition, he's translated into Persian the acclaimed book Robert Enki, A Life Too Short, chronicling the life and tragic death of the former German national team goalkeeper. Mehrdad also joins us from Los Angeles. So I have 3 men in Los Angeles for this panel today. Hello to you all, gentlemen.
Hello. And can I just say, what a beautiful, overachieving group of Iranians here. I'm surprised not one of us has found the last digit of pi or something like that. I was waiting for that to come up as well. Everyone, multi-talented, amazing.
The football credentials amongst the other 2 are very strong. Seena, I'm not sure about you. Listen, and you know, we're all fans of different teams too. I won't go there today, but this is the next day. This is the next day, and in fact, the title of this episode is After the First Match, and I feel like there was so much anticipation, at least amongst the Iranians I know, and even our team here, in terms of what's going to happen, not just what's going to happen on the pitch and in the stadium, but what's going to happen in terms of our feelings, our conflicted emotions going into this. Maybe some people were not conflicted at all, and how it's all going to play out. So let me just start with a general question to all 3 of you. Tell me about your experience last night for this opening game. Featuring the opening game of the Islamic Republic of Iran, that is, not the opening game of the World Cup, and what you most noticed or experienced during Iran versus New Zealand. Let's start with you, Atbin.
Yeah, good question, Jian. I would say overall, I was pleasantly surprised actually. Yesterday, the overwhelming feeling was one of unity and love for football and love for Team Melli. There were some minor things that I saw and experienced that are a little bit uglier, but nothing to overshadow the reason we were there, which was to enjoy football, to enjoy watching Team Melli, and to support Team Melli.
Interesting. So just to be clear, I think the last time you came on the show, you weren't sure that you were going to support Team Melli. So it sounds like you made that decision by game time last night.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time reflecting over the last few days, and I think ultimately, you know what, I posted a video on my Instagram yesterday, referring to the previous games and what I'd seen where Iranians in the stadium in Qatar celebrated when Iran conceded a goal or booed the players, and that was never correct at the time, and I emphasized in that video that I don't think it's correct, and I think we should. It is, like you said, it is a feeling of conflict. On one hand, you want to support the team and you're proud of the team, and on the other, you feel like this isn't your team and it doesn't represent you. But you can support, what I decided for myself and what I believe, others should feel as well and be allowed to feel and accept is that one can support Team Melli, support the players, and still be against the regime in Iran.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive.
Seena, what did you were at the game as well yesterday. What did you most notice or experience in terms of this initial Iran game in the World Cup?
Well, I'll get into there's like the different types of Iranians that were at the game, but I think the thing that I most noticed was the pure confusion among New Zealand fans because they were standing there surrounded by Iranians waving the Islamic Republic flag that were cheering for Iran. They were Iranians waving the lion with the sun flag cheering for Iran. And then there were Iranians waving the lion with the sun flag screaming for New Zealand. I mean, anytime New Zealand touched the ball, they were like, "Go get him, score, it scored!" Anytime Iran touched the ball, they were just like, "Bisharavah," just screaming, and then there's like little kids in front of them. And at one point, the people, and this is in 2 rows of me, okay, this is immediately around me. They are getting so fired up, and 2 rows in front of me, there are kids, right? And this is what really turned it for me because I was conflicted going in. I didn't know what I was going to do. I wore no apparel because I was frankly afraid of what was going to happen. If I wore anything at all, was I going to get kicked out if I wore the lion with the sun stuff or whatever? So I didn't wear anything, but these kids in front of me, little kids, 10 years old, waving the Iran lion with the sun flag and cheering for the team. And you know what? I was like, is this regime going to take the joy of cheering for soccer away from us too? And that's when I was like, all right, I'm just going to cheer for them. And then the big monarchist next to me got kicked out, not for anything they said, not for waving the flag. They were vaping. And when they got kicked out, it's like, no vaping, Papa. I am not vaping. They got the boot. So that was my experience.
So wait a second. That's a. I mean, first of all, thank you for that colorful explanation of what happened. But that's a very. You paint a very different picture from what Atbin just said. He said unity, the beautiful game, everybody feeling it. I mean, clearly you were sitting in a different section.
Yeah, there was.
Apparently so.
So many different flags. I did see some pro, like lion with the sun flag wearing people screaming at some people that had the Islamic flag around them. I mean, there were some little sparks around the stadium. And again, the confusion among the New Zealand fans cannot be understated. Looking around, thinking, okay, what is what? Okay.
So Seena, when New Zealand scored, I mean, they scored the initial goal. How many people in the stadium were cheering for them, and how many could you identify in terms of Iranians cheering for New Zealand in the stadium?
Around me, there were quite a few cheering for New Zealand, and then those are the ones that kind of got through. But the Iran supporters, the people supporting Team Melli, it was huge. They really came out, and you could hear it when they were, on a run or scoring, what have you. They definitely out. There was more of them than there were to the others.
Okay. Now, Mehrdad, I've been looking forward to hearing from you on this because you've actually been on our football panel on Roqe before, and I know you as a really great football mind. And you had told me in the weeks leading up to this that after supporting and loving Team Melli for many years, you just couldn't do it anymore 4 years ago, and this time you're so disgusted you weren't even going to watch the game. So tell me about your experience last night. Did you end up watching?
Yeah, I did finally the partial. I mean the second half. Honestly, it's sad. First of all, me, Jian. But before that, I want to make it clear that I'm speaking only for myself. I'm not representing any segment of Iranian people. These are just my personal feelings. And you know me, as far as you remember, and I can remember, I've always loved football. I've been a football fanatic my entire life. And attending a World Cup was always one of my biggest dreams. And if you had told the 17-year-old version of me that one day I would live only like in the 10 miles away from stadium where Iran was playing in the World Cup, and I wouldn't even watch the match, I would never believe you, But here we are. Not only did I not go to this stadium, I didn't even watch the match. I intentionally scheduled a work meeting so I wouldn't have to watch it. That's how disconnected I feel, to be honest. And it's not because I stopped loving football. It's not because I still love football. It's because for me, something has taken away from me.
Mehrdad, did you consider, I mean, clearly there's people who feel the way you do that elected to go to the stadium. And,
Hmm.
I mean, we just heard Seena talk about the people chanting or wearing the line in some flag and even cheering for New Zealand, if that's what it takes. Did you consider that? I mean, tell me about the idea of not watching, what that does for you.
So first of all, I'm not blaming anyone who went to the stadium and cheering for Team Melli. So it's their decision. The only thing I can tell you is that for me the connection is gone. That's the problem. It's how can I say it's more like you love someone and you are in a long relationship
Hmm.
and then you break up, then first of all you tell to yourself that okay, what a relief, it's good now, I'm free. But now you can gradually understand not being in love with someone is not a great feeling
Hmm.
either. Uh, that's my problem. The I mean, when you feel something, you cannot play another role.
That's
Mm,
very poignantly put.
mm.
Before I move on to another question, Atbin, I'm just curious to get your visceral reaction to what Mehrdad just said, because in my mind, I think of you guys somewhat similarly. You're of similar vintage, and you're both big football fans, and you're big Team Melli fans in the past. How do you react to what he just said?
I think you summed it up. It's very, beautifully, poignantly put. Really, I'm saddened, but for Mehrdad and for Team Melli fans all over the world who feel like this, and rightfully so. I think the two greatest heartbreaks that exist is the romantic one first and foremost, and the second one is the sporting heartbreak. And I think here you have a kind of you kind of have both in a way, we are all in love with Iran. We are all in love with our family in Iran. So all of this is there's a grief and there's a heartbreak to it, and combined with the confusion, the politics, Gianni Infantino and FIFA and everything. You have all of these different factors. But I completely empathize with Mehrdad, and I've been there. I agree. The connection isn't there. This is my fourth World Cup. In the previous ones, I knew. I was a bit younger then, so I was a lot more interested and a lot more engaged. And I was part of Gol Bazan, the English-speaking Iranian football podcast. I mean, I knew all of the players' names. I knew where they all played. All of this. That interest for me isn't there. It's also I'm 34 now, so I'm a bit older. I have less time to invest in studying essentially the team. But I think this is the thing. This is one of the things that when I was writing my thoughts down a little bit yesterday. In the last 47 years, we Iranians have had very little to celebrate internationally. We know that we have a lot to celebrate in our own homes. Our food is perhaps the thing what we can celebrate the most internationally. And then football has been something, even though the team has generally underperformed in the Asian Cups and the World Cups for the last sort of 2010, though we have significant handicaps, which I'm not going to get into, but football and weightlifting and wrestling and judo and the Olympics have always been things that we have been able to celebrate. But all of these things, the connection is diminished because of the politicization of all of these things, and the dichotomy that exists between people who have true Iranian and Persian values and those who have Islamic values, right? So. And unfortunately, it's become more apparent in this World Cup. So I completely empathize with Mehrdad Jan. My heart bleeds for the fact that somebody who is so interested, that's dedicated so much of their life to football and has this dream as a 17-year-old, and felt that this wasn't their team sufficiently to not just not go to the game that's a few miles away, but also miss the first half. That is not what football is about. And it's very sad. And I hope that one day be this will no longer be the case. But for today, it is the case.
Let me say something, Atmin. You're probably referring to 8 years ago. the atmosphere, the way that we cheer for Team Melli for in 2018. I remember
Yeah.
I was living in Toronto at that time, and I was homesick, a little depressed, and football became an escape for me. And if you have lived there, you know Toronto is such a multicultural city that I have this luxury to could watch matches with fans of almost any country. I went to bars to watch the games with supporters from more than 20 different countries. I watched Portugal with Portuguese fan, Russia with Russians, England with English fan. That was a very beautiful experience, by the way. And honestly, I never saw fans more passionate than Iranians. You probably have the same experience. People always talk about Brazilian fans or Mexican fans, but Iranian supporters are on another level when it comes to football. Um, and I also remember being a high school student back 1997 when we were fighting for World Cup qualification 1998 and the famous Iran Australia playoff that sent us to the World Cup. Uh, you know, Atbin, back then we felt players like Ali Daei, like Abedzadeh, Karim Bagheri, Mahdavi Kia felt like they're representing us. And after years of wars, isolation, and hardship, we wanted to be seen by the world.
Mm.
We wanted the world to recognize us, not through politics, through football. I'm talking about
Yeah.
like 1997. And when Iran qualified for the World Cup, it felt like a national achievement for us. It felt
Mm.
like those players were carrying the hopes and dreams of the ordinary people, ordinary Iranians. Today, I don't feel that anymore. I don't feel that the team represents me, and I'm not blaming the players, by the way. You know, let's say something. Another thing that bothers me is that when I look at this team, the players, the coach, and uh, even the way that this fractured nation that some fans defend them, I don't feel like I'm looking at the team that represents me myself. I'm talking about me. uh, People sometimes call them Team Molla instead of Team
Mm.
Melli, but I prefer to call them Team Sepah. And the reason is not necessarily political. It's more cultural. You know, when I look at them, I see a lifestyle and social class that feels completely disconnected from ordinary people.
But
The
sorry,
luxury.
Mehrdad, isn't that true in sports in general? I mean, if I'm watching the Knicks and I'm a fan, I might not necessarily, identify with these guys culturally, or they may not be the guys I hang out with. They're like multi-million-dollar, rich, American basketball player guys. But I'm a fan of the team, so I'll continue to be a fan of the team. I mean, that's just part of organized, professional, big money sports these days, isn't it?
Yeah, you're actually saying that mm, it happens everywhere.
I'm saying if you're talking about class and culture, etc., that's not a disconnect that's unique to. I mean, I don't know
Oh,
how many.
no,
I'm a
but
longtime Toronto Maple Leafs player. I don't know how many fan rather. I don't know how many of these guys would be my friend, or or I would hang out with or identify with. But I'm a fan of the team, and I'm a big hockey fan, and so I'll support them. Right.
I think I
and
understand what Mehrdad John is saying. Sorry, Mehrdad. I think when it comes to one thing that I've always felt with Iranian footballers is that they're down to earth. They're grounded in a level that a lot of athletes aren't. And it doesn't matter whether they come from, which class of society they come from. Generally, about Iranians, generally, we are very grounded, humble people. We are confident, but we're humble. And I think perhaps, Merda, I don't want to put words in your mouth and correct me if I'm wrong, but perhaps it is it goes back to this absence of connection that we have with the current squad. And I feel it too. I know I was only six during the 1998 World Cup, but it's the first World Cup memory I have, the Iran USA game. I was eating Zeresh Pola at the time. I remember it very clearly when Iran scored. Um,
you were there
uh,
in Iran or here?
No, I lived in Sweden at the time. I was
Oh,
born in
Sweden.
Sweden, so that's where we lived before we moved to the UK. So, but I think what Mehrdad John perhaps is saying, and again, please correct me if I'm mistaken, as I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think that some of that humility and empathy, I feel might be lacking from some of the players, and part of that is just I think just the new generation is a little bit more, millennials, Gen Z are a little bit less grounded, I would say, particularly Gen Z,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
than previous generations, and millennials somewhere in between. But at the same time, you have to remember that the players who played in '98, they were born, most of them, before the revolution. So they will remember pre-revolutionary Iran, some of them.
Atbin, let me just, I just want to recenter us. And I agree with you. I hear exactly what you're saying. And I was just simply reacting to what Mehrdad saying, this team doesn't necessarily represent, I don't see myself in this team. And I sometimes feel that with professional sports that I'm cheering for. And I think, I don't even know if I would hang out with these guys, but I'm slavishly doing whatever I can to fly the flag, etc. So that's all I was referring to. And I know that you understand that as sports fans. Look, one thing I wanted to get to is that it's just so complicated. I know that sounds cliche almost at this point for Iranians. I see a bunch of people in social media saying this, and it's confusing. But it really is complicated. That's part of what we're grappling with. It is such a unique situation that has evolved. I also remember powerfully. I remember 1998 because I was on tour with my band. I was in Alabama when Iran won the game against USA, and we went on stage, and my bandmates were like, "Don't say anything. We're going to get lynched," because I was so excited that Iran had won that game. I remember 2014 here in Toronto. I remember 2018 I was in New York, and there was a bar that all the Iranians hang out in. Actually, Seena. Well, no, it wasn't then. I don't know. Maybe I saw you at one of those, but it was such an experience. But one thing that was common to those years and our relationship with Team Melli, even though those of us in the diaspora, was that it wasn't complicated. We didn't like the regime. We didn't like, we were, all of the things that we feel politically were there, but the support for Team Melli at that point, at least, maybe naively so in 2018, didn't feel complicated. Today, it's very complicated. And even more complicated, I would say, than 4 years ago. Why? Because 4 years ago, if you recall, the World Cup happened only 2 months after the killing of Mahsa Amini and the sort of uprising that began. And so I feel like there was more uniformity in terms of not wanting to support or celebrate Team Melli. And I would suggest that if the World Cup had happened in March, nobody would be supporting Team Melli. I think, but because a few months have gone by since what happened in January, etc., and there's a normalization in the Iranian space that it's kind of recentered itself, and okay, we'll support Team Melli. Okay, fast forward to last night, in my experience at this. I'm running a pop-up Roqe football house, and there's about 150 people there, and sold out in advance, people coming, and or at least reserve their spaces. We don't charge people, and I really was anticipating what is going to happen here. I don't know. Are people going to get into fights? Are they going to? And this is in our Roqe football house is in Richmond Hill, which is, as Mehrdad would know, is ground zero for the revolution. In terms of you can't sort of have a restaurant there and not put the Shir Khorshid in the window, kind of thing. And it was a really interesting experience. I cannot blame anyone for taking whatever these are personal decisions. Personally, for me, I'm not enthused about supporting Team Melli this time. But in this pop-up, 75%, over half the people were supporting Team Melli in Richmond Hill. The interesting thing for me, there were a few who were actively cheering when New Zealand scored, etc. The thing that was interesting for me is they all had Shir Khorshid. I saw a woman dressed in the Lion and Sun flag, holding a Lion and Sun flag, but still cheering for Team Melli. That's complicated. It's fascinating, right? I mean, if you think about all the nuances of that, you could write a book about it. So talk to me about seeing that and what that tells you. I'll go to Seena first and then Atbin, because I want to hear, I'm sure you saw those kinds of complications in the stadium last night. And I want to hear about that. Seena.
I think one of the things that I have learned to do as an Iranian American that experiences the world through my parents and my brother that came over from Iran is to hold the complexity of our experience and hold it and understand it and really try to hold it gently. And that's what I was trying to do going into the stadium, still not knowing what I would do, how I would react, how I would feel going in. We've talked on our show on the Foreign Report about what the Islamic Republic has done with this team since Masa Amini, right? And how they've kind of locked it down and forced the players to perform in a certain way. And then some players have gone willingly or unwillingly into that Rubicon with them. But to hold it there and to see people, see children, to see old people having the Shiro Khorshid flag, having the shirts, Shiro Khorshid, everything decked out and cheering, for me, it said that, you know what? I'm not alone in being able to hold that complexity. We can have fun, we can have joy, and we can also be against the regime at the same time. And I think that our biggest challenge, frankly, is trying to explain the complexity to everyone that's not Iranian. I think that's the biggest challenge.
So, I mean, just to throw it out there, I'm not sure I agree with what I'm about to say, but to make the argument, isn't it a contradiction to be holding the Lion and Sun flag, but to be cheering for a team that is unquestionably representative of the Islamic Republic regime?
I think it's
Well,
no. Let's Seena first, and I'll come to you, Atbin.
Yeah, what is a soccer team? I think you got to go to like the most philosophical point of it is like, what does it represent? You know, I'm from Pittsburgh. Ben Roethlisberger was the quarterback. He had all those gations, all those terrible things. I didn't stop liking the Steelers because of Ben Roethlisberger, and he's a terrible guy. The Pittsburgh Steelers were my team. No one gets to take that away from me. And that's what I saw in people last night, is that people weren't going to let the regime take their team away from them, no matter who the players are, what the players were doing, what that represents. And it's clear. I didn't want to say to the father and son next to me, one of them had the Islamic Republic jersey on, and then his dad had the Shiro Khorshid armband on. I didn't want to, they were like, the players don't have anything to do with this. I didn't want to be like, well, I could tell you a little bit about the players and what they're actually doing. I didn't want to ruin their good time, right? But at the same time, we need to also give grace to each other. This is an awful time for everybody.
I mean, I had the same reaction last night when I'm watching people cheer for Team Melli in my football house, and I'm thinking, well, who am I to say don't cheer right now? I mean, this is you're experiencing your connection to this and true excitement, and I bet those people are not. I'm guessing most of them are not pro-Islamic Republic regime, etc. I mean, some of them, like I say, were wearing Lion and the Sun on their chests. But Atbin, talk to me about the complexity. And you started saying that it was very unified last night, etc. And then Seena said something else. I didn't come back to you to hear. I mean, did you see some of the contradictions he's talking about, or some of these videos that we're seeing the next day of people fighting in the streets? The Iranians, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the beautiful things about being Iranian is all of the paradoxes that we have to live with, and I think this was the ultimate one. I mean, I myself, I'm wearing the Iran shirt from 1998, which of course says IR on it, but then I had covered that up with a sticker of Shiro Khorshid, and we had about 7 or 8 Shiro Khorshid flags between us yesterday. 25, 30 members of my family there, and I initially didn't. I still believe that Iran probably in some ways shouldn't be at this World Cup if you apply that sort of blanket blanket criteria that was applied to Russia after 2022, and probably should have been applied to certain other countries. But ultimately, for me, I was not going to deprive myself of a memorable day with a quarter century of my family, 25 to 30 members of my family, because of politics and because of the Iranian regime. We can, like I said, we can still be against the regime and want a free and democratic and liberal Iran, and still support the Team Melli, regardless of how strong or weak our connection is with the players. No, because Team Melli has been here long before these players, and it will be here long after these players. And the same applies to the regime. Team Melli was here before the regime. It will be here long after the regime is gone.
And if I could just add just super quickly, just to piggyback on that point, and you guys were talking about the 98 World Cup, like that, I have the memory of my father literally putting the kubite on the Sikh when the Iranians scored against the US, jumping up and down with the Sikh, and it was staying on, by the way. It stayed on. He was that good. And he was jumping up and down, and that is a core memory for me.
I
I'm
love
not
that
going to let the
all of
regime
our
take that
memories.
away.
I love that our memories are somehow tied into Kabob and you know,
Very full of.
it's inevitable to compare. You always compare. Even now, when I watch other matches like South Korea, Japan, Australia, Qatar against Switzerland, and inevitably, naturally, you compare them to Iran because we have competed against them for years in Asian Cups. And when I watch Japanese fan and see people who are proud of their team, and at the same time their teams are modern, ambitious, well organized, and improving, I feel pity for ourselves, because we had same feeling. We had the same feeling 8 years ago, if not 4 years ago. But 8 years ago, we had the same feeling, and we were thinking that our team is very well organized in Carlos Queiroz era, and then we were improving. We were enthusiastic actually, and then we had something to say on the world stage. Now, I don't, 4 years ago during Zan Zendegi Azadi Women Life Freedom movement, I had very mixed feelings. I didn't know whether I should support them or not. We talked on the show, Jian, right? Yeah, we talked about it and right before the World Cup 2022. And there was still some emotional conflict inside me. Today's it's a bit different. I don't even carry hate or anger anymore. They become more irrelevant for me, and it's so sad. I know.
Mehrdad, some people last night were making the case to me. Look, stop. I mean, you've heard this. Stop conflating sports and politics, especially in the Iranian space with Team Melli. We just got to separate them. And since you're a football fan, I mean, if I were to argue, if I were to say to you, look, these contradictions don't exist just for Iranians. 1978, Argentina wins the World Cup. I mean, a country being at that point controlled by a military junta, the Italian World Cups during the Mussolini. I mean, at some point, if we hold every team to a purity test, we wouldn't be able to support almost anybody, right? So you're a football fan. I mean, what do you say to someone who says just separate these things?
I will say, look at Iraq in 2007 when they went right in the middle of the war. They went to Asian Cup. It was in East Asia, and then they won the trophy. And Iraq was not even like a world-class team or first-ranked team in Asia. They said, well, Iraq was in the middle of the war. The country was fractured. They had security problem, visa problems, preparation problems. They're pretty much similar to us, to the situation that our Team Melli is in now. And yet they won on the Asian Cup. That's true. But there is one fundamental difference, that Iraqi teams at the time represented something much bigger than football. At a time when the country was divided between Sunni and Shia, between Arabs and Kurds, the national team became a symbol of unity for them. It became a rallying point that a country that was desperately searching for something that could bring people together. The players didn't create that unity. I mean, the unity already existed within the society, and the team became its expression. Today we are talking about completely different situation. We have a team that constantly talks about unity. Mehdi Taremi talked about it. The other players talked about we need that unity now. But I don't see a team that actually unify people. I don't see that they speak for the country. And I mean, what what is even more telling is their complete silence is about their squad. How many players have publicly asked why Sardar Azmoun is no longer part of
Yeah.
this national team?
Yeah.
I had this expectation, you know, because this decision was made because he, if I know he took a picture with one of Dubai's authorities
Yeah.
and then
The
posted
Emir
in
of
his
Dubai.
Instagram. And I understand maybe they can't, maybe they don't have this freedom, maybe the Team Melli environment simply doesn't allow them to do that. But that's exactly my point. The great national teams I've admired uh, throughout history of football weren't just collection of footballers. They had personalities, you know.
Atbin, can you react to that?
Yeah, well, I think for me, I'm gonna have to go with my heart here, which is the absence of Sardar Azmoun is heartbreaking. I mean, he's my favorite player, Iranian player. There's that, and you have this sort of Jekyll and Hyde story
And the
there where
guy
you
who
have.
replaced, who was replaced, was very terrible last
Yeah,
night.
yeah. I was going to say he was particularly missing last night, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we could see it. I mean, because we played some decent football defensively. We were awful. I mean, it was like the ghost of Carlos Queiroz's team. It was a complete opposite. So, but at least we played expansive football on the plus side. But with that comes the fact that you have a leaky defense. I mean, the goals that we scored, that we conceded yesterday were terrible. I mean, the way Chris Wood, a Premier League striker and a pretty good one, took the ball down from the goal kick on the first goal on his chest and then down on his knee and then took three more touches, just outside the box. It's unforgivable defending. But offensively we were decent. We were even though we didn't have a midfield either. Really, it was sort of a defense and an attack. It was entertaining, of course, for the neutral, and it's been labelled the best game in the World Cup so far. But yeah, Osman was missing, and that partnership, that telepathic, almost decade-long partnership that he's had with Mehdi Taremi, who is also another, you know, superstar Iranian striker who's played for in Champions League final last season, has won the Portuguese league. These are two top players who together would be a formidable partnership for against any defense. And Sardar Azmoun was missing, and I actually, for me, I didn't fully understand why. I think there was that photo that he put up. I think there was also I saw some clips where he was on live TV in Iran the other day, where he had to where he had to emphasize that he is Iranian. So I think perhaps there is a degree of racism there, or his ethnicity as a Turkmen, as a Turkmen Iranian, has affected this as well. Yeah, I mean it's we
But
team has had.
but by the way, just as a sideline, if Team Melli plays the way they did last night, they're not going to get anywhere with Egypt and Belgium, right? I mean, do we all agree on that? I mean, they can't play like that and actually get anywhere, again, advance. Mehrdad, would you agree?
I can ask another question. If Team Melli was playing like very well, very organized, and could score 3 goals, not conceding a single goal, would I change my mind to support Team Melli after that? I think yes, because that's what football is. You get
Wow.
excited, then
Didn't see that
yeah,
coming.
that's
Footballer there.
I told you I'm a football fanatic, so
But,
that
but,
actually
but you're
happened to me
ultimately
after.
an Iranian who I'm going to go with the winning team. If we win,
Yeah, ultimately an Iranian Mazdur.
Sounds like an Arsenal fan.
Well, settle down. Long suffering, we deserved it. Look, guys, let me ask you about. I'm curious to go around the table on this. The celebration. Who was it? Mohebi, the second goal, the celebration where he's shooting. That's getting a lot of attention today. He's mock kind of looks like he's shooting someone. And some people are saying he was shooting at the Lion and Sun flag. Others are saying this was a representative of a warning for America, etc. Anyone make anything of that, Seena?
I I actually didn't see it at the
Okay.
time because you're in the stands, but I think that's very funny. That's a classic
Have you
way
not seen the
to
today
celebrate.
the news about it? Have you?
No, I mean, it's early for me. I've
All
been
right.
with the kids.
Okay. Okay. Did
Yeah,
anybody see that?
for me, Gian, it was
Yeah,
just a gesture, just a pose. I mean,
yeah.
I didn't take it seriously. The only thing I can say, maybe they don't know how to be politically correct. That's all. He didn't mean that.
Okay. Oh,
I think it was clumsy. It was just clumsy. I don't think there's anything sinister behind it.
it's
I
not
don't
a
think anybody
planned
there.
celebration to show support for the IRI.
It's
I don't.
it's quite a common celebration, like gun celebration. There are several players in the Premier League who do it. There's Rafael van der Vaart 20 years ago was doing it. So it's not an uncommon celebration, but it is clumsy. But I think again, if you've scored a pretty good goal in a World Cup, reason isn't going to be the first thing that comes into your mind. You're gonna do what you think, what you're used to. The question is, I don't watch any Iranian football. I don't. He doesn't play in Europe, but I don't know if he plays in Iran or if he plays it somewhere else in the Middle East. We can easily answer the question, which is, what does he do when he scored
Right,
previously?
right,
Does he
right,
do that celebration or does he not?
right,
And
right.
then we can put this to bed. I think we also we as a nation, as a culture have always, regardless of politics or not, we are hypersensitive people. We are very sensitive. It's just who we are, and it's a greatest strength, but also a greatest weakness. So I think some people are looking for trouble or something sinister where there isn't one.
Maybe he should have
Now,
signed on his hand and then put up a peace sign for a peace agreement. His peace for everybody.
yeah,
It's
just
so
let just
difficult to figure it out.
yeah,
It's
we
it's
just
a
need
excuse me.
to
It's a memorandum of understanding.
Yes,
It's not
thank
a
you,
no,
thank
it's
you, MOU,
yeah,
MOU.
an
It's not a
MOU.
deal
Yeah.
yet.
look. We have enough trouble as it is as Iranians, and I think we should
Yeah,
try. We should try
Yeah.
to avoid. We should give people the benefit of the doubt. I think we're not particularly good at
Okay.
that as a culture either.
Well,
I would
with
say.
what you've said, I mean, Atbin, it was the ultimate earlier when you said one of the great things about being Iranian is the paradoxes. I mean, that's the most generous way to put our contradictions, but it is something that we know what's going on in space. We know the importance of the lion and sun flags at the stadium yesterday. Even whether it's a contradiction or not, the holding the flag and still supporting the team, etc., as you guys have talked about. I opened the show today with an essay about talking about two games happened last night. There was the game that was on the pitch and between the two teams and some goals scored and 2-2, etc. And then there was a game that we were watching on television, which and I don't know if you guys who were in the stadium know this, but there was not one shot that I remember, other than incidental shots from far away, not one shot of a lion and sun flag, of any flag. There were, I mean, the other flags, yes, but not that. Not particularly, you did not see the shooter Khorshid at all, which of course is conspicuous given that today I'm seeing social media flooded with friends of mine showing all these lion and sun flags in the stands, which I assume you would have seen. In other words, it's a great coincidence that none of this appeared. And so then you go, oh right, FIFA, the wonderful governing body that is all encompassing, Big Brother. And even, I mean, I was thinking about the mechanics of this as somebody who worked in television for years. Think about the way the decisions that have to be made, the orders that have to be given, from the producer to the editors to the guy shooting, to the cameraman, etc. Mehrdad, you've done this as a camera, to say we don't want any of those shots. And if we see any of those shots, we need to edit them out immediately, and we have to make sure that on this global broadcast, that's arguably the biggest thing in the world, in any kind of broadcast, that it is scrubbed clean of that. That's not the same game as what was happening in the stadium. What you guys say you were experiencing. Talk to me a bit about that. Let's start with you, Mehrdad.
Yeah, for me it was like people from IRIB, Teda Sima is like shooting these pictures to be very neutral, not doing anything. And then like 40 minutes that I have watched, I haven't. I watched. Maybe I saw like two, three close-up shots from people, fans, and I compared it unconsciously to the other games that we watch, and we see many shots of the fans. It was very. Actually, I was very curious to hear the first-hand experience of you guys was there because the way that they reflected that through TV was unreal, I guess.
Yeah, Seena, you work in media. What's your reaction to what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I felt the same way because my producer was texting me because I was texting him and I was like, "There's Shiro Khurshid's everywhere, bro. I don't know what they're gonna do." And I have a friends that are working adjacent into it, and apparently, and I think we've all seen the statement from the sports minister that was like, "If the banned flags or if chants happen, we'll walk the team off the field and stuff like that." So, I mean, words. I know the security apparatus did send a message after the game started and was like, there are banned flags. Those need to be taken care of because they did not take the flags down. They didn't order anyone to take away the flags immediately or upon entrance. From what I saw, it was like halfway through the first half did they start slowly going around, and they didn't even do it for all of them. A lot of people I just saw the security guys just say, "Hey, just put it down for a little while." But from
Didn't
the
they tell you anything when you taking the flags to the stadium?
No, no, I
The
saw
stadium?
none of that when we were again, I'm just, I wasn't everywhere, but I saw no one stopped. I was looking around. Everyone was decked out in gear as far as I saw. And then from a media perspective, I was also I thought that was so difficult to do because these flags are everywhere. You've got multiple cameras going. The director's got to say, "Go to that shot." Nope, just kidding. Go to that
And
other
I'm
shot.
sorry, but
Don't show them.
that is putting your hand on the scale, right? Like, I mean,
Oh,
that
for
there's
sure.
no question that, I mean, what is the philosophy behind that? Why, there's at a sporting event. If you're watching a random, baseball game, hockey game, the cameras go all over the stadium. Oh, here's a girl, a cute girl. There's a kid that dropped the ball. There's a couple who are kissing. So this kind of premeditated, idea of we're not going to show that. I mean, obviously, it's a testament to how in deep the broadcasters have to be with FIFA,
Yeah.
and how omnipotent this FIFA is. It's quite remarkable, that you're sitting here in Toronto, and as you say, it's like said Simon, you're going to get what FIFA feeds to you, and nothing else. Atbin, what's your reaction to this?
Well, I think you took the words right out of my mouth. I think it shows the extent of the corruption and the depth of the tentacles of evil's sort of collaboration throughout various organizations and various nations and football associations with Gianni Infantino at the helm. I think if you were to class FIFA as a nation state, it would probably be one of the most influential or powerful ones within Gianni Infantino, probably one of the more corrupt autocrats or dictators. I mean, he just oozes corruption. I think even people in my family, who aren't massive football fans, who just come every 4 years and love the World Cup, and they were talking about it yesterday. I think and he's not even, he's got no shame. But I think, going back to the experience of the game, I saw the same as Sina. Shirohoshi everywhere, flags, t-shirts with them. The emblem was everywhere. I did. I didn't see it myself, but a member of my family saw some people have their flags taken at security. But
Mm.
I didn't see that myself. A funny moment. I mean, we put our flags in our kind of shorts as my brother walks to security they drop out of it in this kind of amazing moment of comedy. It falls out of his pants onto the floor, and I pick it up, and they didn't care. Nobody cared. I think there was one or two moment where we put the flags up, and somebody just said, "Can you put them down?" But for me, I think for me this comes. There was one particular moment where I agree that on the screen, on the big screen, and you have this amazing feat of engineering of a screen at the SoFi
Mhm.
Stadium, and after Iran's second equalizer, I believe they showed a family of Iranians celebrating the goal, and they were decked out in Islamic Republic flags and the bandana, and you didn't see that. You didn't see Shiro Khorshid kind of put on the screen, and then there comes that sort of the superficial part of me, which is you're always going to get with these people. They just don't look as Iranian as the average Iranian. These people, they phenotypically sometimes don't even look Iranian, and it's just like as this sort of, I don't care about external validation of our people, and this is why I do all of this content and storytelling of Persian history, ancient Persian history, Achaemenid history, because as if we understand our history, we can be really proud of who we are and really know how advanced, sophisticated, and enlightened and refined we are, truly. But then again, that moment of this kind of the human in me is thinking, this is embarrassing. These people, we have, the stadium was full of beautiful people, of beautiful Iranians, full of beautiful, Iranian women are the very most beautiful in the world. I say that without bias. There wasn't a single one of them on the screen. There were Jamhuri Islami people on the screen. And they tend to be towards the lower rungs of beauty and sort of care. And I shouldn't really care about that, but it's still something that we should think about.
Atbin, you've written about this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
just for the sake of it, what are the mechanics of this? Like, how do we get to a place where a game that's being held in the United States is forced to broadcast something that is favorable to the Islamic Republic? It's one thing to allow the team to play and to not want any, issues around that. But how does FIFA end up carrying water for the Islamic Republic narrative?
Well, money. It's money. Ultimately, it's money. I mean, I'm a venture capitalist. I spent years working at Goldman Sachs. I see what money does to people, and money dissipates humanity. And I think, everybody has a number. Ultimately, we all have a number. Nobody is
So
incorruptible.
what
I
are the
think
mechanics of that? Like the regime is paying FIFA? What?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it is highly likely that the regime is paying FIFA. If there's one thing the regime has invested in the last 47 years, it's the security of itself and the surveillance and the oppression of its people, and for international propaganda. And this is just all part of the propaganda machine, right? This is all part of that funding. The regime has endless resources. You're talking about
Atbin, sometimes you don't even need to pay. It's part of the negotiation. Mehdi Taj or that guy from Iran football say that, okay, we don't let any in quotation fake flags coming to the stadium, and they say, okay, we cannot do that, we cannot enforce people, but we will promise you to not to show them on the screen.
Yeah.
That's some kind of negotiation,
Yeah. Well, I think look, we know that Gianni Infantino is the greatest sycophant I've ever seen. I mean, the guy is just. I mean, how does he look at? How does his children look at their father? I mean, if you were his dad, I mean, Jesus Christ, you'd give him a slap, wouldn't you?
But the others were not better, like Sepp Blatter or Havelange. They are all same.
He wasn't better, but I would say they were less bad, if that makes sense. I think Sepp Blatter at least had a degree of shame, and I think also, Sepp Blatter also, you could tell that he loved football, and I mean, but Sepp Blatter wouldn't sit and he wouldn't fraternize with every political leader and try to make peace between Israel and Palestine, and he wouldn't try to put a medal around the president of the United States. I think there was a degree of separation. FIFA has become a political entity since the arrival of Gianni Infantino in a way it wasn't under Sepp Blatter, in my opinion.
Guys, I'm really enthused and interested in this conversation. I'm really enjoying having you guys. I hope we'll certainly invite you back. Hopefully you'll make the time during this World Cup to continue this, because you're such a great, who knew this would be, the alchemy of the three of you, dropping flags out of your shorts, and doing this so brilliantly. Before I let you go, let's just as football fans, talk to me about what you're most say that, I mean, we're 5 days in now. Talk to me about what you're most thinking about after the first few games of the World Cup. I mean, there's with each of you, I'll follow up on, the details of some of the games we've seen, et cetera. But I mean, just if you were to say what you're something that you've most noticed as the first games have rolled out, what would you say? Seena, Atbin, and then finally to you, Mehrdad.
Yeah, I think for me, it's super simple. It's the beautiful pride that people come out and they cheer for whatever it is they want to cheer for. I think the thing that I actually loved more than any of the stuff that I saw yesterday was how many Mexican fans were there with Mexican jerseys. At first, I thought maybe these are Persians incognito trying to play camouflage. But I was like, no, definitely, clearly Mexicans. And I was like, that's beautiful. What dog do they have in this race? None. They're coming because they love the game. And I thought that was beautiful.
Nice. Atbin?
Yeah, I would echo that. We actually had a gentleman, a Mexican gentleman, and his son sit next to us at the end of our row, and he turned up in a Islamic Republic flag, just there to support Iran. He didn't know the
Yeah.
context, and we spoke to him in Spanish. My brother and I, we speak Spanish, and we spoke to him, and then he put the flag away, and we gave him one of our flags, and he wore it the whole game, and he filmed everything, and he loved it. That's the beauty of it. And I think countries like, a lot of people are unhappy that there are so many teams in this World Cup. I think 48 is a great number. I think we should have teams like Cape Verde, like Curacao. There will be teams overperforming out of these nations. I think it's a great thing. There was a lady from Cape Verde who was interviewed. I saw, even though they lost 7-1 and they scored their first goal to make it 1-1, and she said, "We are happy.
Curacao.
We've won. Yeah, we've won. We scored a goal. We never dreamed of being here." But for me, I think I wanted to be positive, but I have to also, unfortunately, be realistic. These bloody water breaks, the hydration breaks. I mean, come on. This World Cup has become
Powerade.
It's
so
not even that hot.
Americanized.
It's not even that hot. It's
It
only
is just for commercial.
Yeah.
It's so
Well,
obvious
exactly.
it's for
It is,
commercial.
and for me as a football fan and as a British cynic, and I have great respect for. I love the US in many ways. I think American people are really friendly. Really, I love coming here, and you can strike up a conversation and make friends with anybody. But from a corporate perspective and a systemic perspective, they've really started to not just corrupt FIFA, but they've corrupted the match itself with these hydration breaks and this break in momentum. Football is a game that should flow. I mean, they've brought in these new rules about time wasting and goal kicks being quicker and throw-ins being quicker.
the rules are good, right? I mean, they seem to be working.
Yeah,
I kind of
but
think
they
actually.
contradict the hydration break. Just counteracts all of that. The whole point in those new rules is to have the flow of the game and play this anti-Arsenal type football. I'm sorry, I had to.
And you will miss the momentum sometimes, you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly.
Even in the like yesterday, I think it was it the Spain game? There was a game where no, it was the Belgium game, and
Yeah,
Lukaku had just scored, and then they went to a hydration break, and we went to so we couldn't even see the replay of the goal
It's a
because we had
joke.
to watch the hydration break.
It's an absolute joke. Yesterday, I was saying to my brother during as the hydration break started, and I play football twice a week, so I kind of have an idea of I play in the middle of winter in close to zero when it's raining sideways into your face, and I play in the summer in England as well when it's it could be in the low 30s. We know what temperature you need a hydration break, or anything. Yesterday the temperature was
Perfect.
perfect for football.
Perfect.
It was perfect football temperature. It's a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Some of these guys must
guys
be
are-
they
you
must
guys
be
are-
having a chuckle. Like some of the players must be just going, "What the fuck is that? What are we doing with this hydration
I
break?"
think you guys just don't like Powerade. It really was.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Final word to you, Mehrdad, in terms of impressions from this World Cup so far.
For me, surprisingly, so far, it's one of the best World Cup I've ever seen in terms of quality. I like the stadiums. Some of the stadiums I really like that. I mean, the MetLife I liked. The one that Brazil and Morocco play. It's the final stadium, I
Yeah.
guess, in New Jersey.
Yes.
And then the Monterrey Stadium, Guadalupe in Mexico was great. Vancouver was great. And then
Sorry, what is
the
that? What is that?
quality of-
What does that mean? Why are they great? Why
I
is
mean, they look beautiful. They're big, modern. The grass is high quality, and then the quality of the match most of them are like good. I can. There are some that I really impressed by. For example, the USA against Paraguay was really interesting
Yeah.
for me to watch that game, and also watching these small teams like Cape Verde and even Qatar, even Haiti is very interesting for me. It's always more interesting for me than watching some nonsense European team, like some of them that they always come to World Cup and do nothing. I
Belgium?
don't, yeah. But there are some mediocre European teams always come to the World Cup because people keep complaining why Europe has they add like just three spots for them in this World Cup and added more to like Africa or Asia. But did you actually watching Czech Republic or Bosnia, or if we had like a Slovakia, Slovenia? I mean, for me, watching Cape Verde, one of the best experience I had in this World Cup. So how they resist against Spain. Australia was brilliant. I mean,
Yeah.
defensively against
Really were.
Turkey they're really good. They are overachieved actually.
Who was
Yeah,
it?
I liked
Who
it.
was
I
it?
liked it so
Who
far.
tied Spain yesterday? I'm getting
Cape
my
Cape
Verde.
Verde.
Cape Verde. Yeah, that was remarkable. I mean, that's probably a
Yeah.
national holiday itself now.
Yeah.
Of course, the World Cup really hasn't started because the Three Lions haven't played yet, and so let's come on then, England. We'll get there to the
can't wait.
semifinals and choke. Yeah, but
They're actually football coming home. Yeah.
That's right. It hasn't come home in my lifetime, but this year it's coming home. It's coming home to England. Guys, thank you very much. And it's a very, very much appreciate this today. Some great perspectives, some passion, and some emotion, and some really thoughtful responses. Thank you so much for this, and I hope we'll do it again. We'll keep bugging you guys to come back. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
See you. Really enjoyed that. Some intra-Iranian community, Iranian diaspora chat, and also football talk. Very much appreciate those boys joining us. And maybe we'll make that a regular thing. We were planning on doing a bunch of World Cup coverage, especially with Team Melli there, but also in general. It's such a big deal for the diaspora who tend to support different teams once Team Melli inevitably exits. So we'll see if we can get those guys back. And Atbin was particularly gung-ho on his Arsenal attacks today. I know he's a Manchester United ticket holder, so it must be rough when you've won nothing over the last year or two. So he felt like he had to attack Arsenal because they've won nothing. Manchester United. Were they relegated this year? No, they weren't relegated, but they're still in the league. But I don't think they have European football. They do, actually. They do. They ended up third or something, but tough days for Manchester United. Thanks to Atbin and to Mehrdad and to Seena. Although it was really interesting. We booked these guys. They were all not supporting Team Melli, and a couple of them have had a change of mind. So it'll be interesting to see how this evolves within the community. I know there's some folks out there who are watching who are extremely not interested in supporting this team, and then others who think that we shouldn't be having this conversation at all. I just got a message saying, why are you still talking about, of course we should support the team. So as ever, our community has a lot of different views. To hear yours, we'd love to. Send us an email at info@roqemedia.com, info@roqemedia.com, or as ever, post on any of our platforms. Try to be not nasty. I mean, you can, disagree with my views without being nasty, but it's up to you. At Roqe Media is our Instagram account. You can write to us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Apple, SoundCloud, Spotify, Cashbox, Telegram. I think I've covered it. This is full time for Roqe for today. Thank you to the amazing core team who put this show together twice a week. Savvy Roham Meher, who is doing double duty, working on Roqe here and also helping to run the 777 Richmond Street football pop-up there. If you don't come to the Roqe Football House up in Richmond Hill, go to 777 Richmond Street in downtown Toronto. It's a great facility with big screens. It's amazing. Super Parisa San Gironi and the photo and video queen Tina Farahi. Thank you to our special extended team, Smart Pega, Charming Kimia, Talented Anahita, Methodical Kave. Thanks to the TRK. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Do subscribe if you haven't done so already. You can find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. And as ever, Mizun Bashi.